He didn't expect to see anyone alive in that cold October dawn, let alone someone who would change his life forever. The breath of the horses sent mist curling into the dim light of morning. Samuel Hayes, a quiet rancher with more scars than memories he cared to keep, stepped into the stable with a pitchfork in hand. He'd spent far too many nights alone, just him, the wind, and the ghosts of a war that refused to leave his mind. He planned another ordinary morning, until he saw her. A figure lay curled in the corner on a bed of straw, shivering, small, her long black hair tangled and dusty. Samuel froze. The county warned ranchers of Apache raids recently, though Samuel doubted half the tales the men at the saloon spun. But this, an Apache woman, here, sleeping in his stable. He slowly lowered his pitchfork. Her eyes snapped open, sharp, deep, terrified. She scrambled back like a wild animal, fingers curling around a broken piece of wood as if it could save her from him. "I ain't gonna hurt you," Samuel said gently, hands up. His heart pounded against his ribs, but not out of fear. Something else, something he couldn't name. She looked at him, breath heaving, every muscle pulled tight like a bowstring. She was starving, weak, and injured, he could see that now. A purple bruise darkened her cheek. Her clothes torn, dried blood clinging to her ankle. "Please," he said softly, refusing to move closer. "Let me help." She didn't understand the words. But she understood the tone. The kindness. Slowly, reluctantly, she lowered the stick. That was how it began. Samuel brought her water first. Then bread. She ate like she hadn't tasted food in weeks. He watched her carefully, every swallow, every flinch. When he offered to help with the wound, she stiffened again. He backed away. "You can trust me," he murmured. Trust wasn't something she knew anymore. The following days passed in uneasy silence. She stayed hidden in the stable, watching him with wary eyes while he repaired the fences and fed his cattle. When thunderstorm winds hit, she startled like she expected enemies to burst from lightning itself. Samuel realized she wasn't just surviving, she was running. One evening, as Samuel lit a lantern, he pointed at himself and said, "Sam." Then he pointed gently toward her. She hesitated before breathing one word. "Naira." A name like wind in tall grass. "Beautiful." He smiled softly. "Naira." Her eyes widened a little at the sound, like she hadn't heard her name spoken gently in a long time. And for the first time, she smiled back. Things changed after that. She helped with chores, quietly at first, then confidently. She braided the mane of his favorite horse. She mended his torn shirt with careful stitches that looked better than anything he'd ever bought. Once, he caught her humming a soft melody while sweeping the yard, the sound warm and aching with memories. But danger wasn't far. One afternoon, a group of men from town rode up, rifles strapped to their saddles. The sheriff among them. "We're looking for an Apache," the sheriff announced from horseback. "She's dangerous. Escaped after her tribe ambushed a supply convoy." Naira froze inside the house. Samuel's pulse thundered in his ears. He stepped forward, forcing calm. "Haven't seen a soul but my horses," he lied. The men searched around, eyes suspicious. Samuel stood firmly between them and the house. After a tense while, they finally rode off. When he returned inside, Naira stood trembling, her eyes wet with silent fear. "You're safe here," he told her. For the first time, she placed her hand over his heart. And Samuel realized his heart was no longer his alone. The truth came slowly. Naira's family had been captured by soldiers. She escaped in the chaos and wandered for days, hunted, starving, injured, until she collapsed in his stable. She thought he would kill her too. But he didn't. He couldn't. They were two lost souls, each running from a past carved into their bones. And somehow, they found each other. As the weeks passed, laughter crept back into Samuel's home. She taught him words in Apache, he taught her how to write her name. She braided rawhide into patterns and tied one onto his wrist. He wore it like armor. One quiet evening, the sky washed in gold, Samuel gathered all the courage left in him. "You could stay," he said. "Not because you have no place else, but because this place feels like home. Because you feel like home." Tears glimmered in Naira's eyes. Soft, vulnerable, she stepped close, taking his hand in hers. "I stay," she whispered. With Sam, his breath broke. Love didn't explode into their lives. It didn't come with promises or declarations. It grew, slowly, gently, like the first green sprout after winter. Months later, when spring painted the land with wildflowers, Samuel and Naira stood side by side, partners. Not just in survival, but in life. The townsfolk stared, whispered, judged, yet Samuel held his head high. And Naira held his hand. They built their future plank by plank, one brave day after another. Samuel once lived with ghosts. Now he lived with hope. Because he found an Apache woman sleeping in his stable. And little did he know. She would become his heart, his courage, his forever. And he would become hers. Love doesn't ask who you are. It only asks, will you fight for each other? Samuel and Naira did, and that made all the difference.